This meeting is being recorded.
Because we only, well,
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Kevin Ernst. I'm the program manager with Lightbox, and I'll be leading this webinar on the data submission process today. First, a little housekeeping. Please make sure that you are on mute and enter any questions that you have into the chat, please. I'd like to start by acknowledging some of the folks from the Wyoming Business Council who are supporting us in this program. Elena Zempel, the Broadband Director, Amy Grenfell, the Business Council's COO, and Brandon Marshall, the Services Director. And on the line with us, we have Dave Johnson, a broadband consultant with the Business Council. We have Bill Price, the VP of Government Solutions for Lightbox, Robert Shingle, the Director of Digital Solutions, and Lorenzo Haza, the Customer Success Manager. As you may know, the Wyoming Business Council is administering the Broadband Mapping Program, and they've contracted Lightbox to carry out the mapping portion of this program. Lightbox has successfully led broadband mapping programs in a number of other states, and we intend to have the same success here in Wyoming. Before we get started, though, I'd like to mention that for those of you who'd like to review this material again or have someone in your organization that was unable to attend, we're recording this webinar, and it, along with a copy of the ISP Data Submission Guide, will be available on the Business Council's website. Some of you are familiar with Lightbox and the structure of this program. Maybe you're a participant in the Montana program, or you got a preview with us back at the beginning of October in Casper. So much of what I'm covering today won't be new to you. What we'll be covering is mainly aimed at those ISPs that are new to the program. The main objective with today's webinar, though, is just to give you a feel for the data submission process, some of the ground rules, where to look for information, and help. We're going to keep it very high level. So I'll start today's webinar with a brief overview of Wyoming's Broadband Mapping Program. Then we'll take a high altitude view of the data submission process itself. We'll then touch on the NDA that was attached to this invite. And we'll finish up with some Q&A. First, let's start with a little context of the program. We're here today because the Wyoming Business Council believes that together, the ISPs, the Business Council, and Lightbox can create a more accurate map of broadband availability than what the FCC has built. With a better map, we can challenge the FCC's map and potentially increase the amount of funding the state receives for broadband projects. Now, at Lightbox, we understand that submitting yet another round of data comes at a cost to you. There's effort associated with gathering, compiling, and reviewing these data. We get that. That's why we're working to make this process as easy as possible. So to make things easier, we've aligned our program to the FCC's as much as possible, both with respect to the type of data we collect and the process itself. We provide multiple ways to submit data, and we provide detailed documentation and technical resources to help you through the process. So this program is divided into 5 distinct phases. Because this entire program centers around mapping, the first step is to collect the information on where we have broadband. This is really the focus of today's meeting, and we won't be covering the other phases in depth, except just to mention them here briefly. I'd also like to point out that the deadline for data submissions is on December 16th. That's a Friday, and we'll be accepting data submissions until midnight. So today's meeting will be kicking off the data collection period. After data collection, the program will take a brief pause during the holidays, but feel free to call us or email us with questions because we're here to help. But just note that we'll be operating on holiday hours, so we may not get back to you immediately. Okay, back to the timeline. Once Lightbox has all the information from the ISPs. We can then process those and map those locations against our SmartFabric. And that period culminates with us publishing maps, which then opens up a period during which ISPs can make challenges to information that's displayed in the map, followed by the application submission phase. Then another challenge period when ISPs can challenge applications that are shown in the map. And lastly, once that period closes, the Business Council will begin awarding projects. Now, before we get into the details of the data submission process itself, there are three fundamental points I want to make sure you walk away with today. First, the data submission guide. This is the document that explains everything you'd ever want to know about how to submit data to Lightbox. Today's invite has been updated with the latest version of the guide, and that took place this morning. So if you don't find it, please contact us. Secondly, and perhaps most importantly, if there's any material you need assistance with, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help. My colleague Lorenzo is here today. He's our customer success manager, and he'll be happy to answer any questions you might have and help walk you through the submission process. And third, I'd like to point out a few important ground rules about what you submit to us. We've done everything we can to make this process as similar to the FCC's BDC initiative, but with one significant difference. The data that you submit to Lightbox cannot include the CostQuest location IDs. Furthermore, what you submit needs to be your data. Please only submit data that you have the rights to. And finally, to provide a comprehensive assessment of where you provide service, please include both your current customers and any locations that you can serve within 10 business days of receiving an order. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's get into the submission process. So in the spirit of making this process as easy as possible, we offer three options for submitting data. You can provide an address list. You can submit a GIS shapefile of your coverage area, or you can use the Lightbox SmartFabric and do the location matching yourselves. This option is new, so I'll go over this process in more detail than the first two options. For each data submission option, there's two key reference tables included in the ISP data submission guide. First, a table that provides a summary of the rules that govern your data submission, things like the format of your submission, what specifically needs to be included, rules about how and what to include in your data sets, and in the case of GIS info or coordinate information, the geographic projection info. In addition, each section also includes a table that summarizes all the nitty-gritty details of what data are expected in your deliverable. Things like field names, which pieces of information are mandatory versus optional, types of data, and examples of what these data might look like. And each combination of submission type, either address, list, or coverage area, and technology, fixed or broadband, has its own section in the ISP data submission guide. The third newly minted option that Lightbox offers is a slight twist on the other two methods. With this option, we give you a copy of the Lightbox SmartFabric, and you do the location matching yourselves. Then you submit data as either an address list or a GIS shapefile. Since this is new to everyone, let's walk through what that process looks like. The ISP submission guide contains a link that takes you to a form like what I have in the slide. And you start by entering your contact info. Then you enter the county names where you need data for. And finally, you select the type of permissible use. There's two types. The limited permissible use option is if you only want to use the SmartFabric for the Connect Wyoming program. And the expanded use allows you to use our SmartFabric for applications beyond Connect Wyoming. Here's an illustration of the steps involved in fulfilling a SmartFabric request. Like we just covered, the process starts with submitting a request form. Then a Lightbox rep contacts you to confirm how you want to use the data. You then sign and return an evaluation agreement. Data then loaded to an SFTP account created for you. And finally, you download the data. Once you've gotten the SmartFabric data, though, I just want to reiterate that this is not the end of the line. You then need to join your coverage information to the SmartFabric, then send back either a GIS file depicting your coverage area or an address summary. Another important factor to consider in this request process is choosing which components you need as part of the SmartFabric. If you're submitting a summary list of addresses, say for fixed broadband, you'll need address points. To submit a GIS coverage, either for fixed or mobile broadband, you'll need to get parcel boundaries. Now, it's worth noting here that we also have building footprints available, and this information may be very useful to you in helping pin down a service location. So to summarize, regardless of how you choose to submit your data, there's a section outlined in the ISP data submission guide for each submission option. These sections will walk you step by step through the entire process. And again, if you have any questions, any at all, please do not hesitate to contact our customer success manager, Lorenzo. One final word about data, specifically the use of it. The invite we sent out included an NDA. First and foremost, this is optional. It is by no means required for participation in this program. So what does it mean if you sign this NDA? Well, in a nutshell, it gives Lightbox the right to use your data to improve our SmartFabric. We strip off any proprietary, non-address related information and leave only address, apartment number, street name, zip code, etc. But please keep in mind, this only applies to the data that you own the rights to. Here's one more view of the program timeline, along with a reminder about the Friday, December 16th midnight deadline. So just to reiterate, today kicks off the data submission period. Also, expect an email from Lorenzo Haza by tomorrow morning, and that will provide credentials for accessing your SFTP folder. The submission guide explains how to do this, but it's where you submit data. If you don't receive his email, please contact him at the ISP coordinator email on the following slide. Okay, lastly, and I cannot emphasize this enough, we're here to help, so please don't hesitate to reach out for help at one of these addresses, one of these email addresses. And that concludes my spiel. Let's open it up for some questions.
Kevin, everyone's on mute, so you'd have to ask them to come off mute. Yep.
All right, let's Robert, can you call on some questions? Because I'm not seeing the
Sure. So there haven't been any questions posted in the chat. So if anyone wants to come off mute and ask a question to Kevin, myself, Bill, or Dave from Wyoming, we'd be happy to take that question, please.
Yes, hi. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Jordan Keown. I'm a legal analyst with Broadband. I just have a quick question regarding the nature of the confidentiality agreement and how it's optional. Can we assume that our data will be handled in a confidential manner even without signing the NDA?
Yeah,
This is Bill Price. Yes, that's correct.
And is that guarantee listed anywhere in the kind of the program information? Just so that is there any like just document that we can reference back to so that we know for sure that it will be?
Well, Lightbox will treat your data with confidentiality, and the only people who have access to it are a few people in our staff and the Wyoming Business Council staff in a secure login credentialed map that's not for public display. I believe the state is enabled to protect any submitted data from an ISP from public records. Dave, can you confirm that?
Yes, that's true, Bill.
So does that satisfy the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
great question.
Kevin, there's a question that just came in from Marty. Marty's question is, can you resend the new data submission guide to all those participating, please?
Yes,
So-
that was the latest data submission guide's been updated. The invite was updated with the latest submission guide, but we can also email that to you, and it's going to be available soon on the Business Council website.
Does that answer your question, Marty? Just want to make sure we didn't leave you hanging on anything. Okay, we'll assume that
that'll be fine. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
And if for some reason you don't get it because I don't know the invite was forwarded to you or something like that, please just reach out to one of the emails that's in the slide deck, and we'll send it to you directly.
Just opening up the floor to see if there's any other questions. Another question has come in, Kevin. This is from James. If we need to make changes to our map data outside the initial data submission period ending December 16th, will this take place during the map challenge phase as showed in the proposed program timeline, or is there a separate way that this will need to take place? Dave, I think Dave should take a first pass at that one.
Yeah, as it stands today, as outlined on the program timeline, there will be a portion for map challenges in that timeline, and that would be the ideal time that those challenges would be submitted. So great question, James.
Thank you, James, for your question. Opening the floor again to any questions that somebody would like to. Michelle has asked a question, Kevin. If we have provided data to Lightbox in another state, will new login credentials be provided for Wyoming, or should we use our current access?
I would like to defer that question to Lorenzo. My understanding is that you'll have new credentials for Wyoming since we'll be setting up.
That is correct. So Michelle, if you've worked with us in Montana or another state, we will be furnishing you with new credentials that are state specific, just so our teams can be aligned with the data per state. So the answer is yes, you'll be given new credentials.
Thank you, Lorenzo.
Open up the floor to any other questions. Again, please feel free to post it in the chat or come off of mute and ask in the open forum. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, Kevin, there doesn't seem to be any other questions. I think you've reminded everyone on the call that we do have an amazing support network between you, Lorenzo, myself, Bill, Dave at Wyoming to answer any questions that may pop up. There are a number of ISPs that we've had sometimes daily conversations with to make sure that they're comfortable with the material and comfortable with the assumptions and expectations. Lorenzo, I know from other states, has talked to some ISPs 5 and 6 times. So please don't feel free that you're a drain on the process. Really, we've set up this team to enable you to be successful as efficiently as possible. You just kind of have to be transparent with us of where your comfort level is at, and we'll just meet you halfway and make sure you're properly supported and that you can get through this no problem. Back to you, Kevin.
Here, here. Yeah, we're looking forward to building the relationships with you all, and you know, let's communicate. And as Robert said, if you run into any snags, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. That's really our purpose here. So yeah, just reiterating what I've kind of driven home in the presentation is reach out for help. But we at Lightbox look forward to working with all of you, and we look forward to having a successful program. Thank you all for your time today, for attending. I know you're all busy, but have a great rest of your day. And yeah, like I said, we look forward to working with you all.
Yeah, and one final reminder, your credentials to the FTP will be coming shortly. So please keep a lookout for that in your inboxes.
Yeah,
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
That email should come by tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.